Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, members and guests. This is a regular Monday night meeting of the West Shore Photography Club, and it is October the 17th, 2022. We have a great program for you tonight, and Joe will introduce our presenter and tell us about past and upcoming trips. But before we get to that, let me tell you that I am pleased that our membership at the moment is at 113. 113. We're down a few. At the end of last year, it was 136. So we're down a couple people yet, but that's to be expected. And if you talk it up among your friends and your photo friends, we can pick up a few more members and get back up, maybe even exceed 136. Let me remind you that next Monday night, October the 24th, there is no meeting. Okay. And the Monday after that, October the 31st, is an image review. The theme is water. And the image reviewer is our very own Mike Donovan. So the field trip this Saturday that Joe's going to talk about would be an excellent opportunity to get some photos that fit that theme. And of course, as always, the deadline for uploading your image to the club website is Thursday prior to the meeting. So that would be midnight, Thursday, October the 27th. Would be the deadline for getting an image in for the review that will be held on Monday, October the 31st. Okay, that's my spiel. Let's turn it over to Vice President Joe, who will tell you about trips and introduce our guest speaker.
Thanks, Dennis. We had a field trip this past week on Wednesday night to Messiah College, and Mary was one of the leaders of that. Mary, do you want to give us an update on that trip?
With Evie, who was the leader, we had like 7 people, and we all kind of stayed within eye distance proximity of each other. And we went to areas like that, like Moving Bridge or whatever it's called there. And it was fun. It was a lot. It was really fun. It was a perfect evening. There was sun, and then there was hidden sun, and it was good. A lot of leaves were falling on the ground. A little bit cool, but it was nice. Students were there. And we got some of those without them knowing it, but it was good. It was all good. Evie might have some things to say too, though.
Eve, are you on board?
You're muted, Evie. Eve's muted, Joe.
Okay, can you unmute? There you go.
Yeah, we had a good time. The sun was pretty bright, but when we first got there, and then it got overcast, but where we walked over that little swinging bridge into a little path, and it was more of like backlit leaves and such. And as always, Dennis got very creative with getting down low and getting some interesting shots. So it was good. We had a good time.
Yes, we did.
There's a Capitol photo walk coming up on Wednesday, November 2nd in the afternoon at 4 o'clock, and Eve and Mary are going to be leading that one also. And this is around the Capitol, I believe, what you're going to be doing, Eve, right?
Correct. Yes. Yeah. All around the grounds of the Capitol, a condensed Harrisburg walk instead of all over, right in that area, looking for some interesting architecture and all those good things.
Okay, good. And then on Saturday, November the 5th, we're going to be going to Pine Grove Furnace, and that's where we're doing a scavenger hunt, a photography scavenger hunt. That's really a lot of fun. We've done that a couple years ago, and so we would have to find a good leaf and blah blah blah. So you'll see that, you get a notice on that. And then on November the 19th, we're going to be going to the Hershey Zoo, and you'll get lots of information on that. And Mary and I were out scouting that today, and we just had a ball there. It was so much fun. And and there were we got a lot of good animal shots, or at least so we think. We'll find out. So those are the trips that we have coming up. There's some others too, but they're further out. But this Saturday, we're going to the Mill Creek waterfall down in York County, and that's about an hour and 10 minutes from here in Mechanicsburg. And for this particular trip, we're going to be doing some carpooling if you want. And if you do, then we'll meet at the Giant Supermarket in Camp Hill. And that is all is included in the notice that we sent out, which has a map to where we're going to find the parking for the if you want to participate in the drive into the carpooling. Otherwise, just be there at 9 o'clock, and we have the GPS coordinates for that, and it'll take you right to the parking area, which is kind of slim. On this particular one, this is not what we call a happy snapper shoot, which means this is like real photography of a waterfall. So you're going to need a tripod, a polarizer, a normal kind of a lens, and then a somewhat of like a 70 to 200 telephoto. And we'll be going to 3 different sections of the same stream. And we'll be doing that. It'll be a lot of fun for that particular trip. And we have some excellent mentors that are going to be stationed at each one of those little waterfalls, and so they'll be there to help out. So that is for this coming Saturday.
Joe, would it be helpful to have a pair of boots or hiking boots? Or
Oh my gosh, exactly. I'm glad you mentioned that. Hiking boots for sure. And if you have any kind of water shoes, that if you are so inclined to get into the water to get a really, really close-up shot, that would be great. And the thing that you really want to bring is go to your neighbor's house, which has some nice bright maple leaves, and put them in a trash bag. And then when you walk into the trail, which is only about, a 5-minute walk, put them on your belt and tie it. And so when we get there, we can sprinkle them around. And for those purists out there that thinks that maybe this is cheating, it is not cheating. It's taking nature and just sort of doing an environmental thing. We're trying to help out. And so.
unless you get your leaves at Michael's, then it's cheating.
Oh, no fake leaves. We only do real leaves. We also have some buckets there to throw water on the rocks, because that always helps us. Okay, so that's Saturday. And but tonight we have Patti Volpe. Patti is a master at, for sure, on using the iPhone or the smartphone for photography. And well, tonight she's going to show us the capabilities of that. And I know from all of us in the camera club that use DSLRs or mirrorless cameras, you're going to be astonished at the kind of controls that Patti brings to the table, only using an iPad and an iPhone and no computer. So just imagine the money she saves by doing that. So, so Patti, I'm going to introduce you, and you have the floor. And I think we're going to be muting everybody now, Dennis. So Patti, you'll have to unmute yourself.
No, she's good.
Okay, very good. Patti, you're on.
Hi, thanks for having me to talk about cell phone photography. It is a passion of mine. As Joe said, I've been a member of the club since about 2015. However, with a break when I moved out of the area and until the club went back online, I was able to join back up. I was really thrilled to that when this happened. So I'm going to actually get right into this. All of the images that I put forth tonight have been shot on either an Apple IV, an Apple 5S, an Apple 8, a Samsung, or an Apple 12 Pro, which is what I currently am using. And I'm dying to get the 14 Pro, just so you know. So let me share my screen here. Can you see that?
No, we can't, Patti. We can hear you. Here we
Let's
go.
see if we can start this over then.
Okay. Patti's using an iPad and an iPhone for tonight. There's no computer involved in this. And there we go. We can see.
You getting there now?
We're getting there. We're almost there. We are there. We see your iPad. Perfect.
Okay, you can see it now.
We can see it now. Perfect.
So, as I said, all of these images were shot on a cell phone. This is in the Lackawanna County coal mine here in Scranton. And I'm just gonna go through some different images and talk about why, and better yet, why not? Why not use an iPhone? Equipment that we might use, editing, and storage. So why? Those fleeting moments that by the time you pull a camera out would be gone, like this image. Or this one while driving up to my daughter's house early in the morning and pulling off the road and grabbing this out the window. Or my little grandson wondering if the world looks different through the peephole. So the things that I find especially wonderful about using a phone, the portability, not having to carry a lot of equipment around with me, the accessibility, it's always with me. Most of our phones are always with us. Rapid advancement of technology. There is an army of geeks out there writing apps. Every day there's new apps available. And the ease of use and the ease of learning the technology. So really, why not? What do you plan on using your images for? Do you post online to record an event? Do you print? How many of you actually print your images? And have you ever tried to print an image from a phone? I've submitted images at the photo club when we were meeting live, printed up to an 11 by 14. Those were shot on a 5S without the images falling apart. So if you're going to take an image, there's some that I may ultimately on my voyage say, man, I might want to print this really big. Maybe I'll use my camera for this. But 99% of what I do is never going to get printed. And so do I really need to haul all that equipment around? So what can I capture with my phone? Certainly all of these landscapes and street photography, macro, portraits, sports, nature, still life, unique perspectives. So I'm going to go through, not going to really talk about these images. I'm just going to show some examples of these to you. So some landscapes. And street photography. I particularly like the juxtaposition of the people walking on the sidewalk to the art that was on the side of the building. Some macro. And portrait photography. Now, sports photography, I'm not a sports photographer. However, this image does show you that you can freeze action. And nature photography. And still life. And that unique perspective. This one certainly, I would not have been able to take this picture with a camera while my dog's nose was on my knee. However, with a phone, it's easy. So what equipment do we use? So a phone, your camera, a tripod, and lenses. If your phone isn't a current one or doesn't have as many lenses in it, there's certainly all kinds of add-on lenses. So we'll talk a little bit about phone features. And these are features that I'm speaking about an iPhone because it's what I have. So these are features that are prior to pushing the shutter. So I'm not going to speak at all about video. I'm going to only speak about stills and the capabilities within the iPhone. So there's multiple lenses, wide, normal, telephoto. There's flash. There's night shooting. There's live. If you don't know what live is, it's like this 1 second mini movie. You can change the image aspect prior to taking the shot. There's exposure control. There's a timer, 3 and 10 second. I say use a tripod with this because sometimes these take up to 10 shots at a time and stack them. There's filters that can be applied prior to pushing the shutter. So this is a little control panel. I'm going to just zoom in on it a little bit. So on the left is the icon for your flash. The next icon across is for live. The next one is for your image aspect. The next one would control your exposure, not the only way you could control it, your timer. And the next one with the 3 rings on it is the ability to put different filters on prior to taking the image. Above that, the 0.5 is your wide angle lens. The 1 time is your normal. The 2 is your zoom lens. On the bottom right would be a reversal of your camera and your shutter. So in portrait mode, there's some additional features in portrait mode. There's assortment of light choices. So right here at the bottom, you can see where it says natural light. Those icons go across to the right. And however, these icons will not work if the camera does not recognize a human face in the image that you're taking. It's a portrait mode. We're going to go live in a little while and I'll demonstrate some of those. Up at the top here, you'll also see a circle with an F in it. That's control of your f-stop. However, when you access that, a panel will come up where you can use a slider to raise or lower your f-stop. And it doesn't actually change it. It goes from a range of 1.4 to 16, controlling your depth of field. But it's actually only blurring the depth of field. It's not actually changing the f-stop. It is incremental from 1.4 to 16, giving you more, the higher the number, of course, you will see that the background is less blurred. There's a piano mode. And the only options available in this mode is for your lens, wide angle, normal, and 2 times magnification. So we'll talk a little bit about add-ons. So the first one is a tabletop tripod. And the second one here is an adapter for a normal tripod. These are just screenshots taken from B&H to talk about the different things that you can use with your phone. There's add-on lenses. This first lens here is a specialty lens with a gold flare edition. These are all professional lenses. They offer a wide variety of lesser quality lenses that you can add on. This is if your phone does not have a wide angle, they have a wide angle here, professional lens. This is a fisheye lens. These are all designed to go over multi-lens phones. This is a variable ND filter. And then this is just a 6-stop ND filter. Just giving you some of the options that are out there. There are tons of options out there. If you go to B&H and you do a search for add-on lenses for for smartphones, for iPhones, whatever your phone is. So then we'll talk a little bit about editing. Editing that's built into your phone or apps for editing. Two totally different animals. So native to your phone, built right into it. You just like as if you were using Lightroom, when you push the magic wand, it will make a certain amount of edits for you. You have the same thing in your phone. But individually, you can control exposure, brilliance, highlights, shadows, contrast, black point, all of these different things, sharpness, details, noise reduction, vignette, rotation, perspective, cropping, and filters. These are all native to an iPhone. We'll go through a little bit of those a little bit later because we're going to go live on my phone. Actually, some of these things are in these programs also. So here's a screenshot of some of the apps that I use in processing in my iPad. So in the upper left, Snapseed is a basic adjustment. It's got filters, it's got all the things that are available in a phone, plus much more. Things that you can pinpoint, make adjustments instead of global adjustments. Some of these other ones are just adding filters like brushstroke, giving you something that's a painterly effect to it, reflection. I'll go through a few of these live so that you can see how they work. Layout is one that lets you make a collage. Roll world. You may have seen some of the images that I do with Roll World and wonder how I got them. So we'll look at that. Some of these other ones like Paint Can and Sketchbook are a little bit more of graphic art basis over an image that you took. And I will show some of that as well. There's also a softbox that's included that I have an app that I can light with different colors, something that I'm photographing. So basic editing app like Snapseed has a lot of features, all the features in a phone, plus it has healing and white balance. I can expand an image either smartly or with white or black borders. You can pinpoint, make adjustments to dodging and burning, spot exposure, spot temperature, spot saturation. There's HDR. There's a lens blur with a movable center point, and it's adjustable in all different kinds of shapes. You can do a double exposure. You can add text, and you can add framing in that app. So here's some images that I have taken with some of these artistic apps. And it'll talk about at the bottom of each one of them, it shows you what apps were used to do it. So this is a picture of dill. It was done as a double exposure in Snapseed. This image right here is a hosta, and it was put into Roll World. And the next two images were the results of it in Roll World. This is a dahlia done in Snapseed and brushstroke. And the upper image is the original, and then a brushstroke was added to add a painterly effect to that image. This is graphite and Snapseed. This is some ferns from my garden in the kitchen here and done in Roll World. This is Snapseed and brushstroke. And this one is just Snapseed. This is in Middletown, the car show in the middle of town that they have, and just done as Snapseed. So this is one of those apps that I talked about where it's more graphic art. So this is Paint Can. So the upper image is the original, and then it puts a veil over the photo that you're entering. And you're going to individually put brush strokes over top of that to reveal what's underneath. This again is the car show in Middletown done in Snapseed. This is at my bedroom window in Middletown, Snapseed. And this is a bike shop window with a reflection of the brick building, done it with Snapseed. And this church, the only reason I took this church is that wayward board done in Snapseed. And a double image of my granddaughter done in Photoleap. So storage, certainly any photograph that you take with your phone, you can store traditionally just the way that you always do. Likewise, you can process them traditionally, bringing them into your regular programs to process things that you're comfortable with. But there's also a whole slew of online storage options. Some of them have initial free storage, some of them have only paid. Some examples are Dropbox, Amazon Photos, iCloud, SmugMug, PhotoBucket, Flickr. I'll just give you an example of, for instance, Dropbox. What it's user friendly, it's cloud-based. It organizes photos into folders that can be shared. It's available for both iOS and Android. There's both free and premium. Their premium is 2 gigabytes for $9.99 a month. It'll take a large file transfer. And if you bill yearly instead of monthly, you save 20%. Amazon Photos, unlimited free photo storage that goes with your Prime membership. So your Prime membership is currently $139 a year or $14.99 a month. That also includes your free shipping and streaming, but this photo auto goes along with it, the Amazon. I currently use iCloud. I get 2 gigabytes for $9.99 a month. It just bills automatically to me. Different sites certainly have all different, like PhotoBucket and SmugMug. Some of them will give you a website on top of the photo storage. Other ones will market photography for you. It all depends if this is the way that you want to go with it. It all depends upon what you want to use. So go out and look at them. Their initial offerings do change kind of rapidly. So you may want to keep an eye on it because they will change. And you know what? At the end of this right here, I will go live following this. So if there's any questions that have come in, we could go to that now.
Patty, this is Joe. There was one question, and that was from me. I tried to find a physical book that I could use to help me with the iPhone that I just recently got. Do you know of any like that is available?
I don't. I'll do a little research for you and get back to you if I know of anything now, Joe.
Okay.
I really don't know. Some of the programs that I am going to go into has some great tutorials in them, but I really don't know of anything offhand that.
Okay. Okay.
So if there's
couple
no other, yeah.
A couple questions did come in. What's the best way to get your photos from your phone to your camera?
From your phone to your computer?
I mean, from your phone to your computer. Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Well, mine are all integrated because I use an Apple product and I'm using an iPad. So the fact that I'm using mine through the cloud, as soon as I take them, they upload to the cloud and they're available across all of my equipment. So I think it depends upon how you're going to process and what you're going to use that's out there and available. That makes it more accessible for you. Joe,
Okay.
how do you do it when you take a picture from your phone and you
I,
run it on your computer?
I email it to myself, or what I'll do is I'll attach my phone to the computer, and then I just go
And
down.
download them from there, right?
That's what I do.
Right, right. So again, though, you have an Apple phone and an Apple computer.
No, well, I do, but I do that with my Windows computer.
Okay, so there's two different ways. At one point, I did not have an Apple phone. I was working on a Samsung for a little while, just because my phone died and I was waiting for the 5G to come out before I bought one, a new phone. So my son had an extra, and I was just emailing to myself and then picking them up in email and downloading them to my iPad so I could edit them. I was much more choosy about how many I did that way. And I didn't do a lot of them in the field. I waited until I got home if I
Okay.
was out shooting.
Another question came in. Do you shoot RAW? And if so, why do you shoot RAW? Is there much difference between RAW and JPEG with the iPhone?
So I'm shooting on a 12 Pro and it does not have the capability to shoot RAW. However, with that said, I have downloaded an app called Pro Camera. And if I shoot through their camera, through Pro Camera app, I can shoot RAW. So why do I use that? Is it just for that? No, it's not just because I can shoot RAW. And is there some difference? There's a huge difference. When I use that for particular shot, I have control just like a DSLR. I can control my ISO. There's a live histogram on my screen. I will be happy to show that as well. That, I think it may be about $8 for that app. It's a one-time purchase.
Okay.
And it's updated regularly.
Okay. Another question came in. Do you on your iPad, do you use a magic pen for editing?
Sometimes, yes, mostly my finger, but I also have an Apple Pen. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And Chris pointed out that Sync Thing is an app that you can use to automatically sync your photos on your phone to a computer. And it's called syncthing.net.
There you go.
Richard has a question for you. Have you ever used Photoshop on your iPhone and iPad to edit your photos?
I have not. One of the reasons I don't is the apps that I use, other than my storage, do not have monthly fees.
Okay.
So I really control my costs.
Okay. Great. Well, those are the questions that came up so far, Patty.
Okay, so I'm going to log off of my iPad and move to my phone.
Okay. This will take a moment, folks. She is going to log off to Zoom and then log back in with her phone. And this is the most amazing thing you're going to see, is the work that she can do with this, with images. It's phenomenal. Okay, she should be coming back on soon.
Joe, you were looking for a book on iPhone technology. Sounds like Patty's more than 3/4 there already.
Yeah. Well, I looked at the books and they were all the books for seniors, like print with fonts this big, and it was, here's the on button, here's the off button, that kind of a thing.
Joe,
I never got into the actual book, to the phone feature itself. Yes,
Joe,
Patty.
can you make me a co-host again? When I go to share this, it says only the host can do so.
Dennis, can you do that? Dennis, are you there? Dennis,
Okay, what's that?
can you make Patty a co-host, please?
Oh, okay, yeah, sorry. Let's see. iPhone Patty. I was going to see what books I have on iPhones. Okay,
Okay. Should be good to go, Patty.
yeah, while Patty's coming online, one of the books that I have is iPhone Photography book by Scott Kelby. This is
Okay.
a really good one. It's
Okay.
not real expensive, available on Amazon. But yeah, that's a good one. There are a couple others I have too that I can share with you later.
Okay, that's what I'm looking for. That, just like that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
I can
can you
We-
see my phone?
We can
Yes.
see your phone just perfectly with 7,947 emails. You
I
are a
hate-
popular lady.
I hate emails. So there's two icons here for camera and pro camera right across from each other. And we're gonna just open the regular camera inside the phone at this point. So not that I'm interested in taking a picture of my kitchen, but we're gonna look at some of the options that we have that I talked about earlier. So on the screen at the bottom, there's 3 circles, one with the wide angle lens, the normal lens, the telephoto lens, available to go up to 10 times magnification. At the top, there's a little inverted V that's white. And when you touch that V, it turns yellow and it opens a bar at the bottom. So these are your controls for your flash, on, off, or auto. Your live, automatic on or live off. Your aspect, here you could change the picture aspect before you take the picture to any one of these. This is where you can control your exposure with a slider. There's also a second exposure. If you touch on your screen, a box comes up that is telling the camera where you want it to focus. It also has a little sunshine. The sunshine is an exposure control as well. Here's your timer, 3-second or 10-second or timer off. And this is where you can put filters that'll show up on your screen prior to taking the image. So you can see what it's going to look like in black and white before you shoot. So under portrait, we talked about portrait having different lighting, and you can see the lighting as we go through these. However, if we take a photo and we look at the photo, it's not going to have that lighting because there's no human face in the image. It will only apply that if there's a human face seen. And here you have your piano. As I said, there's only a couple options in piano. It's only going to look at your different lenses. And once you start a piano, just moving slowly across and stop it, and your image will be across that whole section. So likewise, under Pro Camera, I talked about I could shoot in RAW. So you can see my histogram up on the top of the screen. I can touch the ISO and it comes up on the bottom, and I could adjust the ISO. It's going to show me what's under or overexposed. How about that? With the little squiggly lines. I can make all kinds of adjustments in here. I can adjust white balance in here. So it gives me also, here's some of the other options that are available in here. A tiltometer, which will show me what's going on. I can put grids across the screen however I want them. I can turn the options off or turn them on. Have rapid fire. Right now I'm shooting in a RAW format. Here's my choices of format. All in an app. Pretty amazing. If you have it in manual, auto, semi-auto. So that's the use of Pro Camera over the camera that's native to the phone. So I'm going to look a little bit at Snapseed in here. Snapseed is in my phone as well as my iPad. So if I want to open an image here for editing, first, let's open an image that is shot with my phone. These are some other images that I'm going to work with. Let's do this another way. I put one in here that says edit this. So we're going to edit this native with the native programs that are in the phone only. So when we hit the edit button, we can hit the automatic wand and we can see on each of these sliders, if you look, you can see how much it changed that exposure. See the little white part of the ring around there? That's how much exposure was changed. And you could see it on the slider at the bottom. It added brilliance. It decreased the highlights. It added shadows. But you can individually do more or less with a slider on any given one of these. Increase its brightness, its black point, its saturation, vibrance, warmth, or cool. Oops, we skipped one. Tint. This is sharpness and definition. Noise reduction. And we can add a vignette, or we could make it a whiter around the outside. So these are the basic adjustments that could be done. We also can go into straightening. We could crop here. Up here at the top, there's a white square that I turned yellow. And this is our original. We have free form, so we could crop it any way we want. If we crop in the original format, it's going to keep the aspect that we had. We can go to a square. We can move any part of the image into the square. We can go to each one of these different aspects and change the ratio of it. We can also at the top rotate the image, and we can flip the image. Over here on the right at the top, there's like a pen point. If we touch that pen point, it's going to bring up a bar at the bottom so that we can write over top of the image. So we can use a marker and we could change the color of it to whatever we want here. And we say okay to that. And we can write on the image. We can change the pinpoint size at the bottom. So I'm going to say, I'm going to cancel that so that we don't have stuff all over it. And then we can go into filters that are preset in this program. And we can just slide through the presets and apply any one of these that we felt we would like to do. There's black and white ones. So that takes you through most of the basic edits that are native to the phone. I'm going to edit and ask it to revert to the original. And then we're going to take the same image and we're going to go into it through Snapseed. So Snapseed, when you open it, has a series of presets also along the bottom. You could just touch on any one of them and get a preview of how that would be applied. Under the tools for it, there's a pretty big array of tools. So your basic image tuning is up here in the left, and we can look and see what you could tune: brightness and contrast, saturation, ambiance. And it, again, it's just sliders. As you can see at the top of the screen, just putting your finger on it. You can do an automatic with this little wand at the bottom. You could decrease your highlights, slide your finger, and open up your shadows the way you normally would in processing. And you could add warmth or coolness to it. In here, there's details. You could get it very detailed or you could smooth it out. Something that you can't do in the phone, you can't make an image smoother. You can only give it more details. Here, sharpening can only go sharper. It can't go less sharp. So to accept anything that you do, you hit the check mark. To reject it, hit the X at the bottom. This has curves, which is really wonderful. So there's a lot of presets in here for soft contrast and hard contrast and all kinds of presets. However, at the bottom on the left, you can adjust individual channels or RGB, red, green, blue, or luminescence individually. So we're in the red channel. We can drop a spot on any point on this line and drag the spot to apply what we want. You can add a second spot. So I can increase the reds while still decreasing others. I'm going to go into the blue channel and adjust the blue channel. When you adjust luminescence, that's all you're adjusting is luminescence. And you accept what you have at the end. You have white balance, you have automatic white balance here. You have temperature and tint that you can control. And you have a little icon that you can touch and you can move around the image and look with all different colors of the white balance. You have cropping just like in the other one, the originals, and you have squares and you have all different shapes that you can do. You also have rotation. So it will do an automatic straightening of something. If the building is off, you can tilt it back and forth. You can flip it side to side, or you can rotate it around. Under perspective, you have quite a bit here. You can tilt side, hold on a second here while I do this right. You can tilt side to side. You can tilt up and down. It's got a smart fill in on it. On the side, you can change the fill to be white so you can see what you're doing, or you could change it to be black. You could also do a rotation of it. You can also scale it up or down by stretching it or shrinking it. You can also do a freeform one, which will get really wonky if that's what you want to do. You can do an automatic and let it be automatic. This is just wonky because I already did something to it. One thing that I really love is this expand. And I love it because let's say I want to add a frame to this, but I really love the edges of the picture. And when I add a frame, it's going to move in on the photo. So if I expand this, there's 3 different ways. A smart one will add similar to the image itself, or you can add it as white or black. So let's say I want to add a frame. Now I can add a frame without moving in on my border of the image by adding a frame, expanding it all the way around prior to adding a frame. I don't use selective a lot on here. Brushing, however, is fabulous. This is where you can dodge and burn. So it's currently set up for a +10. It's in increments, +5, erase, -5, or -10. So expand your image by putting your fingers on the glass and stretching them outward. And then use your finger across the image where you wanted to apply it. You're going to use the blue box to move the image so that you can cover the whole part that you wanted. Then, oops, we don't want that one. So we're going to go back up and erase it. And then use 2 fingers, and you will not apply while you're using 2 fingers on the glass. You can not just dodge and burn, you can change the exposure to a small area. And this is in a little bit more controlled, from a 1+ to a 7 to a 3 to an erase, -3. So if we just look here and we want to look at how drastic that changes it with just a touch of your fingertip. That's at -7. Here's a -3. You can also change the temperature of a very small area. You want to warm something up on this branch right here. That's a +1. We'll come down to a +5 versus a +1. And just hit your check mark and it'll accept it. On that same, brush, you can also do saturation. So if you wanted to desaturate the entire picture except for the blue car, you take it down to a -1, use your finger, and you may have to go over it more than once. You can turn it into a black and white image, and the only thing that would be left would be that blue car. So you could spot control it that way. I may have to do this more than once to get it totally black and white. And then you accept it. Up at the top of the screen, you'll see a little square with an arrow backwards. If I touch that square, I can say undo that and it's back. I can also touch that square and look and see view all edits that I did. Unfortunately, with this program, if you choose to go back and undo the curves, it's going to undo everything you did after that. It's the biggest drawback that I find to the program. So that was brush in healing, just like everything else. So there's a little funky yellow leaf stuck up here. We're just going to get rid of that. It works pretty well. It's not always perfect, just like the other programs that you use. They're not always perfect in removing something. We have an HDR. So there's nature and people. There's two different ones. There's fine and there's strong. You can control the strength of that filter as well by sliding. You can also control the brightness in here as you're going, and you can control the saturation as you're going through these. Whichever one that you choose, whether it be the people or it be nature. Additionally, these are kind of, most of these are kind of like filters going on a Glamour Glow. They're presets. The next one, however, is not. The next one is tonal contrast, and you can, work on your high tones, your mid tones, your low tones, protect highlights and protect shadows in here. You can add drama with presets. You can do grainy film and retrolux and grunge, and you can several choices for black and white for the image. And you have control over brightness, contrast, and grain within the black and white section. You have a Nior, which has more presets in it. I won't go into portrait on this since it's not a portrait or head pose. I will look at lens blur on this. The lens blur in this program is really very nice. So you can change the point of the center point. You can use 2 fingers and change the shape of where you want the blur. You can come down and change the transition period between the 2 bands. So it would transition faster or slower between them. And it does apply a bit of vignette. You can get rid of it, or you could apply more. There's also a whole bunch of pre-done shapes that you can use that you could apply. So that's lens blur. The vignette is also fairly nice in here because you can change its point. It's not just center. You can change the amount or the brightness. You can do inner brightness versus outer brightness. Double exposure is something I do love to play with. So in here, you open an image, you have one open, you're going to add a second image. Let's just say we add the same image, unedited. You can expand the image, and you can control the opacity between one or the other. You can relocate it. And then there's you can darken it and lighten it, subtract, or do an overlay. So there's a lot of different options in here. You can add another image over it too. It's not just 2, you could keep going. So here you can add text to an image if I wanted to sign my name to it. I can resize it. I can relocate it. I could change its color in any array of these colors. And then I could change its opacity. So if I have it on here and it's white and I think it's too strong, I can just lighten it up until I feel like, well, it's there, but it's not overpowering the image. So those are oh, we can add a frame to it. So it looks like we already have a frame, but we don't really have a frame. That was where I expanded it in black. So if I'm adding a frame here, I'm going to add the frame to just where it came over top of that black, because I didn't want to change the size. So I'll accept that by the check mark. And let's say I want to add a second frame and give that frame some depth. I have all these choices down here. So let's say I'm just sliding and changing the size of it. I want a little black liner. And then I'd like to add one more black frame on the outside. And I've framed it. When I export this, I could share it. I could open it in another program. I could save it. If I save it, I'm actually affecting the original. If I save it as a copy, I can save it as a copy and undo the changes that I have. And that's generally how I do it. Or I could export it and create a copy with permanent changes. So generally I save it like that. And now I've created my original image still stays there. Unlike when I do it in the phone, the original image is no longer there. I can revert to it, but I no longer have that copy. This saved the image and I have the original still. So that's Snapseed. It's 8 o'clock. We didn't get to anything else. How do we want to proceed from here?
Patty, there's some questions that came in. How about we try those, okay?
Sure, great.
Let me pull those up. And do you normally use RAW when you're photographing, or do you normally use JPEG?
I only use RAW, the Pro camera, if I need a feature that's in there. For instance, if I want a slow shutter,
Okay,
maybe do an ICM, an intentional camera movement shot, then I'm going to use that and I'll probably shoot in RAW. Otherwise, I don't. Most of these images, unless I wanted to print something large, I don't need it in RAW.
okay, okay. Do you usually take the photos on your phone, but then edit them in the iPad with a larger screen?
I do, absolutely. Matter of fact, most of my editing programs are not even in my phone. I only have 2 in my phone.
Okay. Do you use many of the add-on lenses? Do you use those?
I do not.
Okay. If you wanted to, could you correct the appearance of the vehicles? I guess maybe, Jim, you're referring to, can you change the color of it? Would you be able to?
If you looked at that picture with the tree,
Okay.
aspect ratio of the cars was not accurate.
Yeah, okay.
They're curved a little bit.
I think it's how they're parked, actually.
Okay. Could you use, now another tricky one, and use the healing brush to remove the cars?
Yeah, absolutely. Here, let me do so.
Okay. See, the audience is getting trickier with you now.
So we can go to healing. And let me do this blue one. Oops. Let me go do this blue one over here first. Now, like always, you're going to have to play with this a little bit. Now I've got a frame on it, so it's trying to mess with the frame. There, I've got the lines back. I would have to do it on the image that before the frame was put on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I could in this instance go up here and I could edit it and see that the frames are last and throw them in the garbage. And then go back and edit out the car. So that's because so the black is missing because I've got that expand on the side of it.
Mhm. Well, it's kind of like when we use the stamp tool that we want to replace things. You do it in little pieces, and that's probably what you would need to do there, right?
Right,
Yeah.
there's a bit down here at the bottom as well, you know, like that leaf. Sometimes it does a better job than others at removing things. Sometimes I add them back in and try it again.
Okay. Mary asks, do you use iSoft box? And can you tell us what that is first?
The softbox, sure. How about I show it to you?
Okay.
So this is, I would use it on my iPad and use my iPad to light something. So I can adjust the brightness here. So I may adjust saturation, adjust hue. And I would, let's say I was doing a floral Mary that the flowers were white, but I wanted to shoot a cast onto them. I would do this with my iPad and shine that iPad onto the surface of onto those flowers and change the look of the flowers. So I'm using it as a softbox.
Okay.
That's a free, some of these programs are actually free. As in-depth as Snapseed is, I believe it's free.
It is.
I've had it so long, I'm not sure it's still free.
Yeah, it is from Google.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty amazing that it is free.
Yes.
This
So-
is brushstroke. Let me just open a photo in here real quick
Okay.
and give you an example of brushstroke. So let's just look at this picture. So up at the top, there's a right-hand arrow that you can just hit and it'll paint it. So the sliders at the bottom are just all different kinds of textures that you're going to add to it. The one that I particularly like is this simple one, the third one on simple. And then you can adjust the amount that it's applying to the photo by dragging your finger across it. And you can also adjust other textures. You can adjust the surface of the paper that you're on, from none to canvases to primed and rough. You can put it on vintage papers. You can put it on colored papers, burlap, wood, rock, stone. And to see that, I'll have to increase it so you could see that it added that stone texture right to the image.
Wow.
I also adjust in here. Let's see if I can find where I make that adjustment. Hold on. Here. So you can adjust saturation and contrast and things. Oops. Sorry. In here. But one of the adjustments that I always make is the thickness. So this adjusts, if you look real close, this makes it really squiggly, the texture it's putting in. And when I'm using some of these apps, I just want to add a little tiny bit to accentuate. So the thing that I adjust the most is that thickness, the thickness of the texture that I'm putting on. And then you just touch the arrow and it's done and you save it and you have it. Now I'll open it back up in another program and edit it again.
Wow, that's great.
As simple as that.
Another question came in, and that is when you're shooting outside in a bright sunlight, do you have problems seeing the LCD screen?
Just like you do on your camera if you're using that LCD screen. Sometimes it's tough. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions for Patty that we might want to open it up for a direct question to her?
I would just like to show one
yes.
thing before I go, if you don't
Oh,
mind, before we go into
Okay,
that.
please.
Which just talk a little bit about apps and what you're looking for if you're going out to the app store, what you want to look for. So if you go down and you do search and you just do photography, or let's say you want to have a slow shutter. Oops, come on. Because maybe you're not capable of, with the camera in your phone, of slowing it down and getting a light trail from a car or smoothing out water. You can do that with one of these apps. But the things that you're going to look for is on this slow shutter cam, let's say right here, I want to make sure that there's quite a few users. Like you look at the second one, there's only 252 users on this. I would not go to that. I would pay $1.99 and use one that had 1.9 thousand users on it. I would also look by going into the app. You can look at the ratings and reviews it has. And I would want you to look at the app's policy and is it collecting data from me? And if it is, what kind of data is it collecting? Because they can spy in your privacy. So be careful on your choices of what you're looking for. And let me see if I can give you one that does show what kind of data that it's taking. Data used to track you. It uses identifiers and it uses your usage data is what it's taking. So look, some of them really take a lot of data. But I always look at how many users there are. And sometimes there's 10 users on these things. Here's one with 25 users. I don't want that in my phone. No way. Irregardless of what it looks like up there, I don't want it. So just a few things to be careful of. Like here's another one, Starry Camera, 41 users. Beware. That's all I have to say about that. On downloading some of the programs. Any other questions? I have other apps if you want to see a couple. That's up to you. It's after 8 o'clock now. If you just want to open for questions, that's fine too.
Well, we have one that came in. It says, I have big hands. This is Richard. I have big hands and find it very awkward to hold my iPhone 13 stable and secure without from dropping it. Do you ever use a device to hold the phone?
Well, that's where you could use one of those adapters for your tripod. They're like $15. I don't use an adapter. You can also put a button on the back of your phone that your fingers slide underneath and it holds it more securely, so you don't have to wrap your hands around it.
Okay.
Those are my best suggestions for that
Yeah.
problem.
Patty, if I could add to that.
Yep.
I never, ever expected to be a selfie stick user until at Hershey Park, I almost dropped my wife's brand new iPhone 13 in the water.
Oh yeah.
Now I use a selfie stick compressed, holding the phone. That's how I secure it. I also, they're very slippery. So I use the selfie stick.
Yeah. So there are things for that. And here, I'd like to show you this picture. Hold on a second. I put a couple pictures into a folder that as the day went on today, I thought I would like to talk about. So I talked about some of those apps that are more graphic art. So this is a bunch of cosmos that it was the end of the plant. I cut off every flower, threw them in a vase and stuck them on my sun porch. And then I took a portion of that into one of the graphic arts. And I worked several hours on creating this image from it. This is Roll World of, let me give you what the original picture was. Hold on one second here. This was the original photo taken in through Rolled World and created both of these. In the past, I've always used a very simple photo in Roll World. And as I was getting ready for this talk, I thought, what would happen if I took something that was really vibrant? And this is what I created with that. I wanted to show these two images. My kitchen table has glass on it, and this is a reflection out my kitchen window. But just turning your phone upside down, I was able to create this because it put the camera right down next to the glass. So if you're working on a reflection, try flipping your phone upside down, getting the camera closer to the water surface. This is another image that was an edited image that I then took into the graphic arts program. And here's the starting of the painting. And then this is more of what I finished with.
Stunning.
I also painted over this image in that graphic art program. I did this one today, and I'm still working this image. This is some of the more final than the one before.
And Patty, you're doing that with your finger on the iPad?
I am. And if you wanted me to show it, I'd have to log back into the iPad real quick, but I could show you how your finger becomes a brush in that program. So you took the photo in and it put a veil over top of the photo. And you're going to use your finger like a brush to unveil the image below. Is the best I can explain it.
Okay.
So here's an image that I took, and this was through one of the artistic programs. I just threw a couple things together real quick in this folder.
Mhm.
And that's probably, this is one I thought maybe I would edit and show, but the tree worked out just fine. So I didn't do that. Or I could show a program like that at another time.
I'll tell you, Patty, you should, Apple should hire you as an instructor online. I'm going to tell you, you were so clear and precise on what you did on each one of those applications, as well as on the phone. It was really, really well done, you know.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that.
Dennis asked a question, do you send a photo from the iPhone to the iPad via AirDrop?
No, every photo is available across everything because of the cloud. One other thing I wanted to show you. I know, Joe, you've said to me before, oh, you can't organize photos correctly in there. Well, I can just go into my library. Let's say I threw a couple of glass vase and a picture on my kitchen table today. Here's where I talk about the reflective quality of my table.
Mm-hmm.
So if I wanted to create just a folder just for these, I could add an album and just table it reflections. And I now have that in that album. This whole series that I have, I can just click one after another, after another, after another, after another, and send those to that album.
Okay.
So now if I just open that album up, there they all are.
Mm-hmm.
Likewise, I could go into a picture and just put your finger at the bottom and scroll up. When you do so, you can put a message in here. You can title this. So if you were on a vacation and you titled all of your photos Germany, And then you went into your photos, into your main library and did a search. And I'm going to search reflection. There it is, because I gave it
Okay.
that title.
Interesting.
So they are searchable off of the word that you put in next to the photo. Or you can put them into an album and title the album.
Oh, that raises an interesting question. Is it searchable by object name? Like if you put glassware?
Yeah, some images are. So let me just say this, bridge.
Because the
Sorry.
Adobe.
I need to spell it right first. And I can see all.
Oh my gosh. How did it
Yeah.
know that?
Well, it's the artificial intelligence, Adobe Sensei, it's called, does the same thing.
So I know, Joe, you've always said to me, oh, but you can't do that. Buddy, I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah,
You've
so-
Okay, so
You've
I can
convinced me.
catalog the same way that you catalog.
Yeah, I want to put that in my head.
Well, for those of us who are using Lightroom Classic, you can't do that. We use keywords, but if you use the mobile, the cloud version of Lightroom, and it stores your photos in the cloud, then you can do that. You can search via object names.
So I don't know if I helped anybody or not. I sure hope I did.
Chime in, folks, if you have a comment, please.
Patty,
Mute yourself.
Patty, it was wonderful. I never lost interest for a moment. Not
Thank
one
you,
moment.
Mary.
I find it very fascinating. It was great.
Hey, Patty, can you just comment on the telephoto lens? From what I understand, the Apple, it's at 77 millimeters, and that's not a very distance. Can you really zoom in?
Yeah, you know what? Here, I'll show you what I can do with the telephoto. So this is the normal lens.
Right.
This is 2 times. I can go up to 10 times. Now, if I use, if I need more than that, I can go into Pro Camera and I can, hold on one second, if I get myself where I need to be here. I can zoom on this camera. Come on, give me a zoom. It'll go up to 16 times on this. I'm not sure why it's not doing it for me right now. But the other thing I wanted to show you on this is you can separate your focus square from your exposure, and you can move your exposure around where the other one doesn't separate them. You can watch the histogram change at the top as you pick out your point of exposure for the image. There's some really cool features in this. I want to say this Pro Camera, it might have been like $6. Wasn't more than $8. I've never paid more than $8 for an app. There's a lot of them that offer both free and paid. I usually find some way to work around. Like maybe it's going to watermark a picture on me. So I figure out where the watermark's going to be. I add a border in that area. The watermark goes in the border. I go back and I crop that off.
Sneaky.
You know, that's all.
Patty, a question came in. Considering like a DSLR or a mirrorless camera, like many of us use, is there anything that you miss, which I think I know the answer, on that camera into the iPhone?
I have a mirrorless Sony, a very nice camera, and I still use it. So I don't miss anything, because if I feel like what I want to shoot, it's best for me to use my camera, I use my camera. So the answer is no, I don't miss anything.
Okay.
However, those images, my Sony, while I'm in the field even, and this is why I love using the cloud, I can send those images from my camera to my phone in the field. My camera becomes a Wi-Fi hotspot to my phone. I could edit it and post it right then and there
Okay.
in 3 seconds. Where right at the beginning, I said portability. I really mean portability,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know?
Let's everybody unmute themselves so that if we have any final questions for Patty, we can put them up on the, ask those questions now.
Eddie, this is Dave Marquetto, and I thoroughly enjoyed your presentation. There's money in this for you, and I would suggest, an ebook or workshops that you could offer. Your name should be on this this book that I have. It's by Rocky Nook Publishers, and anything Rocky Nook. Dennis is on it too. Anything Rocky Nook, you just can't go wrong with. Patty, I have one last question here. What's an updated camera going to do for you on the iPhone? I mean, you've convinced me you've got all the tools and then some you'll ever need. What's a new camera, an updated phone going to do for you?
So the iPhone 14 Pro has 48 megapixel camera in it.
And that's shooting in RAW, right, Patty?
Yeah, and in RAW, in the native camera. Oh baby, I want that. I want that. I think my current one might be like, in this phone might be like 12 megapixels. It's going to 48. That's a huge jump in recordable data that I can then play with and edit. When I first started with the camera club, I was like submitting pictures that were basically unedited. I was trying to be this purist that said, oh no, I'm going to do it all in the camera. I do anything but that now.
That's amazing. Well, Patty, thank you so much for doing this tonight. It's been very helpful. I know I've enjoyed it thoroughly, and I just based on the comments and chat, we can see that others did too. So we want to thank you so much. This was great for you to do it.
I really enjoyed it. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks, Patty. I have 3 pages of notes.
Thank you,
Thank
Patty.
you.
Thanks, Patty.
Thanks so much. Have a good night,
Thank you.
guys.
Yep.
Yeah,
Thank you,
round of
Patty.
applause for Patty, guys.
Yep.
Thank you,
Awesome,
Patty.
just awesome, Patty.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yep,
Good night,
thank
guys.
you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, Joe, any final comments?
Nope, that's it. We're
Okay. Thanks for attending, guys, and thanks, Patty. That was a wonderful presentation. Like I said, I have 3 pages of notes, and I've already downloaded the Softbox app that she had. I have most of the other ones already. But as I mentioned, the iPhone book by Scott Kelby is
Okay.
excellent on Amazon.
Is that
If
for
you're-
newer phones, Dennis, or is that for like
He usually keeps it updated.
he does?
So yeah. So you want to check though to see what the latest one is. If
Okay.
you like Patty's ideas about the artistic approach to it, here's a good one for you. This is called Art with an iPhone.
Okay.
Cool.
It's by Kat Sloma, Katsloma. I will put links to these 2 books and the one that Dave mentioned in the follow-up email tomorrow. This is The Enthusiast's Guide to iPhone Photography. It's very
Okay.
good. It's by Sean Dugan,
Mhm.
published by Rocky Nook. And yeah, so I'll put links to all 3 of those in the follow-up tomorrow, as well as a link to the recording, of course.
Thanks, guys. Good night.
Thank you, Patty.
Good night.
Thank
Thank
Thanks, Patty.
you.
Thanks again,
Bye.
Patty.
Thank you, Patty.
Thank
Okay,
you.
anything
Thank
else
you,
for the good
Patty.
of the order?
No, I think we're okay.
Okay, guys, thank you very much and good night.
Okay, bye now.
Night, everybody.
All right.